Former Assemblyman and San Diego mayoral candidate Nathan Fletcher has changed his political affiliation twice in just 1 year. Last April, while running for mayor, Fletcher jilted the Republican Party to become an independent. And last week, Fletcher announced he's now a Democrat. What's driving the political conversions? For some insight, we turn to Voice of San Diego's Chief Executive Officer, Scott Lewis. Scott, when Nathan Fletcher switched from the Republican Party last year during the San Diego mayoral race to become an independent, he condemned both parties. Why does he think the Democratic Party is a good fit now?
Well, you know, if you read his manifesto, and that was the only thing he did, he put it on Facebook, this long thing about why he left or why he wanted to join the party. He said, and he admitted that unlike before where he said he hadn't changed, and it was just the parties that had changed, what he said now is, yeah, I did change. And if you look at it, it's kind of written as though he was coming out. I mean, it has a lot of the same language as somebody who is coming out with other things that they knew about themselves that they were uncomfortable with coming out about. And it was kind of a fascinating thing, and a lot of these things saying, don't worry about it, you know, people advising him to trust him and just to deal with the criticism and all this stuff. It was a fascinating sort of way to try to quell the concern or the criticisms he knew he was going to get, that he was just being an opportunist and cynical.
But what made him change? Was there an epiphany?
You know, there's not a lot of meat in that part of the discussion. He says that, you know, he became a father. He says he feels like the Republican Party is now the party that only is for people who have already made it, not necessarily the opportunity for people who haven't made it in the sense of wealth and opportunity. And he also cited things like immigration and equal rights for gays and lesbians. So I think that, you know, he's trying to toe that fine line about being just ultra sincere, but also knowing that everyone knows that he has left a team. He had two options. He could try to form an independent network or party of some kind, or he could join the Democrats. And it's a lot easier to join the Democrats than to build a movement that nobody has succeeded in building.
Why now? What's the political calculation here?
I think it's like somebody deciding to be a Padres fan when they're having a losing season. It's not that the Democrats are having a losing season, but you want to have the credibility that you weren't just doing it for a specific race or a specific calculation. And he also just, why not? You know, I mean, it was a good time to keep himself in the news. He and Carl DeMaio, since they lost the mayor's race, have tried to stay on the radar, and he succeeded. There was a tremendous amount of discussion. We're talking about it. I mean, it was a way to keep himself going and to keep the discussion going.
To open the way for another political run?
Well, yeah, and also it was the day of the big Democrats party. The Democratic Party had a big dinner that he got a standing ovation at. He probably wanted to get that standing ovation. I mean, we'll see what he aims for. There's, you know, maybe a congressional seat sometime, Susan Davis, maybe a mayor's race in 2016. I don't know, but it was a good time to do it, so it wasn't just part of a race.
Obviously, we can never know for sure, but let's speculate for a moment. Looking back, a year ago in April, if he had decided to become a Democrat instead of an independent, might we have had a different outcome in the San Diego mayoral race?
I don't think so. I think that was a Hail Mary, and he got as far as he could with any kind of Hail Mary that he threw. I think that you know, they had a strong Democrat. The problem is the primary. Primaries are so powerful because so few people vote that it's just this, you have to be very loyal to parties. You have to have the grassroots. You have to have the organization and money to pull it off. He couldn't beat Carl DeMaio or Bob Filner, who were very partisan, through this third route. So it would have been seen as just a even more opportunist than it was, I think.
How has his switch been received by both the leadership and, okay, tell me about the leadership first.
Of the Democratic Party?
Right.
Oh, they love it. They're so excited. They worked on him people like Juan Vargas worked on him for months. Okay,
but leadership is one thing.
Yeah.
What about the voters? Might they think, oh, wait, this guy's flaky. Two switches in 1 year.
This is going to be his huge problem going forward in the Democratic Party, is he's going to face primaries where he'll have to answer for why was he bros with Newt Gingrich and Grover Norquist. You know, why was he so on board with this team and now he's switched, and how do we can trust him in the future? So that's his primary challenge going forward, and he's just going to have to deal with it if he wants to win.
And there is not another switch left for him in the future, is there? I mean,
who knows? I don't know. Maybe there's religious switches or something. I don't know. He says that this is him being more true and clean and open than he has, and so if he's like people who have gone through experiences like that before, maybe he'll thrive.
And we've got to close it there. Scott Lewis, thanks for coming in and talking to us.
Thank you.